Hi guys, it's Adam again. Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial. In this one we're in Photoshop and we're going to be taking a look at some very basic post-production stuff for the render. I want to do things like change the color temperature, color balance in here, play with some exposures and adjust the brightnesses for a few areas, and also add a background into the window. Okay, so the render that you'll find with the downloads is, well, you'll actually find this Photoshop file as well, okay, but this is the original render. So basically the first thing I did here was I created a new layer, okay, and I just blocked out this white area here, so I could go ahead and just mask out that black background, which I didn't want there. And this white is actually our light coming into the window, so I forgot to hide it actually. And in hindsight, I would have made the background of the VR environment in white as well. It would have made things a lot easier for selection. So basically, what I had to do here was create a new layer. I used my lasso tool, the polygon lasso, and I simply started just blocking out these areas here, and then I filled those in. So we just add a new layer here, and just get rid of all of this stuff quick. New layer over here, just to show you what I'm doing, and then I just started filling it in with white. Okay. There we go, and I went along my way. Now, with the areas that have the white area in the background here, you can just use your Magic Wand tool, because the contrast between the two colors, black and the white, is very strong, so you won't have to go and mask out too accurately there. Yeah, so I did this for each one, and then I used my lasso tool to fill that in. Just fill that in with white, and you'll see that it's now filled in that area. So just actually do that one more time. There. Okay, just to double check. Yeah, that's filled it in. And then use your lasso tool to finish up those black parts over there. Alright, so let's expand this again and see that black background there. Alright, and just get rid of these. Okay, cool. So the next thing I did was I created something called a clipping mask. Okay, and basically what that does is it uses the layer below these images as sort of a masking layer, so it'll only display what's filled in that layer with the color. Everything else will be masked away. So what I did here was I had an image of some buildings, okay, and all you do is you go and right click on that layer, okay, go to create clipping mask, and it essentially just chops everything out, okay, using this as its guide layer, okay, or its main masking layer. The next thing is I needed a bit of sky in there, so I just found an image of a sky, and then I'm just going to drag and drop it below that layer. There you go. And then I wanted to adjust the exposure of that whole area there to make it a bit brighter outside, because we won't have a dark outside like that. So what I did here was I created an exposure layer, okay, or an exposure mask. So let me just delete that and show you how I did that. All I did was I held down my control button on my keyboard. I clicked on the white layer there, and then I clicked on the last layer of those clipping masks, and I chose a layer mask here, and I went to exposure. And then using your sliders, you can just go play with the gamma and the exposure of that background image, and then you'll get a nice blown out background image. Then I went and did some color balance, so let me just zoom out here. So I wanted things to be a bit cooler, a bit white, to seem a bit whiter. So what I did here was I added a color balance mask, and I just pushed the blues a lot, the blues and the cyan, and that gave me my color balance. So the way I did that one is, let's just delete this all. Okay, I went to color balance, and in your adjustment layer you just start pushing the tones, or the mid-tones here, the shadows, the highlights if you need it, if you need be, until you end up with a color balance that you are happy with, sort of something like that. Okay, and then don't overdo it, or you're going to get quite crazy looking color balance. Yeah, so something like that. Right. Next thing I did was I played with the curves in my scene, and that's just to push the different levels here. So make things a bit brighter in some areas, a bit darker in the other areas. And here's my curves, the curve I created. So once again, to create your curve layer, you just go to curves, and you just start playing with the different areas that you want to increase or darken. And you can see the graph here at the bottom. You've got your whites and your mid-tone grays and your black, and then along the curve line you can go and adjust at specific points until you're happy with the way it's looking. Alright, there we go. Then the next one here is a bit more complicated. Basically what I did was I wanted to push the brightness and contrast in certain areas. So I created a brightness and contrast mask again. So brightness and contrast. And I just sort of pushed up the overall brightness of the scene. Okay. And maybe a little bit more contrast, or less contrast, depending on what you like. Okay, there we go. And then what I did here was I started masking out those areas with a brush. So you click on the mask over here, you go to your brush tool. So I just press B there and make it a little bit bigger. You can make it bigger by tapping your brackets keys just below the backspace button, or you can right click and go to size, make the hardness 0. I'll put my flow or my opacity here on about 30%, and I'm going to go to black, should appear black, and then you can just start painting out areas that you don't want to have too much brightness, so I can actually make it a bit stronger, and then you just start doing that. Like you can paint in the shadows a bit more. There we go. And any areas that are looking a bit blown out, you can go paint in. And because you've got a low opacity, every time you brush over that area it does get darker and darker. So that's quite a cool way to just change those colours, or the brightness and contrast of only certain areas. Yeah, so you just keep on painting it out like that until you're happy with like the general look of it. So just go to shadow parts, brush those out, and then just keep on going. Like you can leave the highlighted parts a bit, that gives it more effect there, so shadows in the background, and then you end up with whatever the effect you're trying to go for. Right. Okay, so then I created a levels layer just to make the light a bit brighter. But I actually sort of like it a bit like this. Maybe I'm just going to drop this down slightly, so something like that. Yeah, this was the same sort of thing. I created a level layer. Okay. I selected the mask, press Ctrl I to invert it. Okay. Then I used my lasso tool. You can be accurate with this, but I actually just used I think I might have used the pen tool to create a path mask, and then my path selection, and made it a bit more accurate. So next I'm going to just fill this with white. Okay. And then you know, you can play with your levels. So you know, you can adjust the slider until you're happy with your result. And then once again, if you needed to just tweak a few areas, you can use your brush tool. Okay. Your low opacity, and then just brush out certain parts that you don't want to have be too bright. You can see if I just exaggerate this a bit. Let's just make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, so you can see where you can brush out certain areas. Alright, then after that, let's just delete that one. I went and sharpened the image, okay, using a high pass filter. So if we just go to full resolution here, and let's go back in. Okay, so I've already masked it out, so I only sharpened certain areas. Okay, but you can see the effect coming through on the cushions over here. So because of your anti-aliasing, it blurs a lot of the detail in your scene, and then in Photoshop you can go and use a sharpen filter, a sharpen mask to bring it out. But if you haven't let your render run for long enough and you've still got a bit of grain in your original, that sharpening is actually going to highlight that grain, which is what you might not want. So what I've actually done here is, as you can see, I've masked out or erased certain areas of my sharpen mask to get rid of those grainy bits. And I could actually do it a bit more on the wall here because the grain's coming out quite a bit. So I'll basically show you how one of the methods you can use for sharpening your scene. Okay, it's not the only one. You can either go to filter. Let me just, okay, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to press Ctrl A to select everything. I'm going to edit, select all, edit, copy, merged. Okay, I'm then going to paste it right to the top. There we go. Then I'm going to go, you can either go to sharpen, like smart sharpen or sharpen. Let's go to smart sharpen, and it gives you a nice little preview here, and then adjusting the slider will go and show you those effects that come out, and that's the one way to do it. Okay, I just click OK, that's all cool, but it applies it to the whole image. Okay, so what I like to do is I just press Ctrl Z to return back normal. I go to the filter menu and I go to high pass, and here you can adjust this radius, which is controlling the contrast between the edges in the scene, and you can go and just adjust that until you can see a nice contrast between edges, and this is what's going to be the sharpening aspect. So you click OK, and then you just change this to overlay, and it basically goes and sharpens your image for you. And now with this you can go and use your eraser tool and basically go and erase areas where you don't want that extra detail, like the grain, like the wall over here, you know, maybe some parts of the sofa here. And then you can selectively sharpen certain areas of your image just by erasing your sharpen layer. And then I just added our logo as a watermark type thing. And that's basically it. So if we take a look at the original, which is this one, you can see what a big difference just a little bit of Photoshop work makes to your render. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do your post-production, but this was a very quick one I did. So anyway, I hope that taught somebody something, and keep an eye out for my next tutorial. Cheers.